Cape Cod is a wonderful place to spend the summer. People are drawn here because of the beautiful beaches, the quaint villages and unique shops, and the laid-back Cape Cod lifestyle. But the Cape holds a secret. Just around the corner, sometimes literally, there are people who are hungry. It's something that most summer visitors never see. During school vacation, when free school lunches are not available, a volunteer-led program serves nutritious lunches to kids behind the Chatham Community Center, just off Main Street. According to census calculations, the area is a federal poverty zone, where more than half of children live in low-income families. Were you aware that this is a federal poverty zone?
No, I was not aware of that.
Do you think there are a lot of people who maybe don't know that?
Probably. I mean, I know that the Cape has issues. I mean, growing up, I was aware of that.
It's been a challenge to talk with folks about how it is hidden. And when I explain where the poverty zones are, where at least 50% of the families who live are living under the poverty line, it's mind-boggling for people to understand that where the Chatham Community Center is located is in a poverty zone. There's an incredible loss of education. The children take 1 to 2 months just to regroup in the fall if they've been at any risk of hunger in the summer. Food insecure kids don't understand why it is that they are hungry, and it's really up to us adults to care for them. And they're all our own children. And if we can make a difference for them to be even more ready when school begins in the fall, that's one of the goals of this program. And to help also the families who struggle and in the summertime all of a sudden have to do lunch for their children. One of the really good parts about the summer food program is that the lunchtime is the same every day. So children begin to be trusting in that lunch will be there, and they begin to monitor their hunger. They won't overeat at a meal because they're not sure where the next meal is coming from. It helps to stabilize them, and it really has been proven that children who are hungry are experiencing post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Almost every Cape Cod community has its own food pantry. The largest is the Family Pantry in Harwich, which serves all of the Cape. It's a huge warehouse, bustling with volunteers, meeting an ever-growing demand.
We've opened another new shift. We just added the evening shift a year and a half ago, and we now have opened a swing shift. We used to be open Tuesday morning and Tuesday afternoon. We're now filling that gap, that hour-and-a-half gap, to stay open. And the last couple of Tuesdays, without any advertising of this swing shift, we're seeing 100 people. It is wild.
The service industries that are needed to sustain all of the restaurants and motels are critical to big business. But what happens on the Cape is that oftentimes families will work 2 or 3 jobs in the summer, and then in the winter, the jobs disappear. And so when you take the whole year and look at it, that's where the families are who are really struggling, the fishing families, the seasonal employees, and it's very hard for families with children to even stay on Cape Cod.
By one calculation, there are 23,000 people on Cape Cod who are at risk of not having enough to eat, 6,000 of whom are children. An Iowa-based charity recently provided bulk foodstuffs, rice and beans, and macaroni and cheese, which were packaged by volunteers into 23,000 ready-to-cook meals. The effort was organized by St. Peter's Lutheran Church of Harwich.
So often, even some of my friends and colleagues will say, "Oh, we're so sorry, somebody has to live in paradise, close to the beach," and then they're amazed to find out that there are hungry people and homeless people on the Cape, and what a struggle it is for many people with the high costs of housing to live here and to make ends meet, and how many of them have several jobs and the patchwork just to get by.
The people who live here year-round that aren't aware of the amount of hunger that exists on the Cape.
Who are the hungry people?
Your neighbors. It depends on where you live, obviously. If you live in one of the more affluent areas of Chatham or Orleans or Mashpee or wherever, the people around you probably aren't the hungry ones. But if you go around the corner or down the block, you might find people who are hungry. And it doesn't depend on what their house looks like or where they're living. It's just people who have lost their jobs. The way the economy's been lately, they can't get it all together, and they get hungry. I can venture to say that we get 2 or 3 new clients every week, and we just have a small pantry here, and those are just Harwich residents. We have several clients at the food pantry here at St. Peter's that are retired. I don't think that hunger is geared toward any particular age bracket.
I mean, I think of one family in our church who ended up selling in Chatham and moving to Maine, and they'd had a beautiful home in Chatham. And from the outward appearances, you'd think like, wow, they're all set. But
got to be worth a couple $1 million because their house is worth a lot.
It was one that they had inherited, but they couldn't afford to keep it anymore in the family.
One year I had a child in Springfield, and we were getting ready to finish the lunch, and she was just finishing her banana. And she was sitting against a chain link fence, and she looked up at me and she said, "Is it all over?" And my sense, it just hit me, that this was not a place where she was coming to satisfy hunger. It was a place, it was a part of her whole experience in the summer. The whole process of getting a meal, sitting down, choosing the order that you want to eat the food in. You know, it's okay to eat the banana first or last. All of those issues around nutrition were so important to that child. I always use that as an example because it just hit me so hard that day.
I mean, I think it's always difficult to have summer residents or visitors be invested in the communities where they visit. I mean, it's sad to say that, but I think that's probably a problem many towns face.
We've actually found that with Habitat for Humanity and with some of the area nonprofits like the Homeless Prevention Council, and that many of these organizations depend on the generosity of summer visitors and summer residents. And so there's that relentless effort of communication to say the Cape is a beautiful place, but let's try to have it be a place where all people can thrive.
In a community where many people make most of their income during the visitor season, it's seen as bad form and maybe bad business to talk about the problem of hunger. But summer visitors and seasonal homeowners often give generously to local food pantries, and that generosity can make a big difference. Reporting for the Cape Cod Chronicle, I'm Alan Pollock.